to St. Luke, the 21st chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, Jesus said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be? And what will be a sign that it is to take place?" And he said, "Beware that you are not led astray. For many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and the time is near. Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified. For these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately." Then he said to them, "Nations will rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes in various places, famines and plagues, and there will be dreadful portents and signs from heaven. But before all of this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds not to prepare a defense in advance, for I will give you the words and the wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and siblings, by relatives and friends, and some will be put to death. You will be hated because of my name, but not a hair on your head will perish. By your endurance, you will gain your souls." The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. Let us pray. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of each and every heart be pleasing and acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. So how's that for good news today? Everybody feel all the warm and fuzzy in our message, in our gospel lesson today. As we approach the end of the church year, we hear lots of readings and illustrations about end times. And as we saw today, they're not always warm and fuzzy feelings. Many people are fascinated with the end of time. Books have been written about biblical prophecy. Many have predicted days of the Lord's return that have long passed. How many of you have ever thought about or tried to predict when the Lord would return? Anybody ever thought about that? I confess to you on weeks that I have a particularly tough text to deal with. When I get ready to sit down on Friday to write my sermon, I often pray, "God, if this is the end of time, do it now before I have to write my sermon." But Jesus warns us not to get preoccupied with times and seasons and things that we can't understand or know. God knows the day and time. Yet we get glimpses from Jesus about the end times, like we did in our gospel lesson today. Now, Jesus had just commented about the widow's mite. How many of you remember the story of the widow's mite? Somebody, thank you. This woman has 2 coins left to her name, and she takes both of those coins and puts them in the treasury. And then Jesus lifts up how many people give of their abundance. But she gave all that she had. We often preach on this text when it's time for stewardship campaigns and things about giving. We want to remind people that we give all that we can, even when it seems very minimal to us. But that's not the end of the message here as we hear this morning. This widow gave all that she had and then prepared to go home and die. She had nothing left to live on. Even though in that time and place, it was a law that widows should be cared for. She apparently wasn't. So then we wonder what happens to this gold and silver coin. And the answer seems to be today that it was used to furnish the temple. That magnificent work of art. The gleaming and gilded marble. The giant bronze doors. The votive decorations made for quite a spectacle. The disciples were totally in awe when they saw the temple in all its splendor. And in their amazement, they shared this with Jesus. But But Jesus, we see, wasn't impressed. His blunt reaction was to tell them that the time was coming when not one stone would be left upon another, that all would be overthrown. Now keep in mind, this isn't the only time Jesus told them about this. He wept over the city as he entered on that Palm Sunday. Even though the crowds were cheering, he knew soon they would be crying for his death. So in all their humanness, in the stunnedness of the disciples, they blurt out two questions. When will this happen? And what will be a sign that we know it's about to happen? How many of us have ever asked our Lord these questions? Lord, when will it happen? Lord, when will that take place? Lord, how will I know? Lord, please give me a sign. How many of us have ever been there? Probably all of us, maybe more times than we can count. Now, Jesus' answer to the disciples was predicting the destruction of Jerusalem that would happen in 70 AD, and not the second coming of Christ. Most of those disciples would be dead by that time, but John and a few others would still be around. The first thing Jesus warns them is not to be deceived, a lesson that we all need to learn from time to time, sometimes the hard way. For the time it was a warning of false messiahs who would arise, claiming that they were delivered Jerusalem. You may remember there was one, even among those in that city, named Barabbas. If you remember, Barabbas was the one they saved, not Jesus. For us, thousands of years later, we need to be on guard and not be deceived of prophecy scholars who claim to have cracked the code and can predict Jesus' return. There have been many throughout history who have said, I am, and the time is near. But Jesus clearly reminds us not to follow such leaders. Remember that throughout history, when someone who claimed to be a prophet and their prophecies failed to come to pass, they are false prophets. Although there are parts of the prophecy which we can relate to as disciples, we know the fulfillment of the future has not yet come to pass. There will be, as we are told, fearful and wondrous signs from heaven. The earth will be shaken. There will be famines and pestilence, wars, rumors of war, disease, and people will be frightened. If you think about that, hasn't that been the case throughout history and even today? It's pretty much business as usual as this world continues to go about what's going on in this world. It's nothing new. In the times of Emperor Justinian, a distant volcano exploded and cooled the earth. The dust darkened the sun, and the moon was blood red. A bubonic plague erupted, killing much of the people. Many felt that would be the end of the world. At the time of the Reformation, there were predictions that that was the end of the world, but we know that it was not yet. World War I was also predicted by a Jehovah's Witness named Russell, that this is the end of the world. But we know it was not yet. So we need to be cautious about trying to interpret signs in light of the day's events. Jesus lifts up in the latter part of his message to his disciples and to us that instead of trying to predict things we can't understand and know, we need to focus on the task at hand, our call and the cost of discipleship, of sharing the good news, of loving God and neighbor. The church has undergone great persecution throughout history, and that has not changed. Think about this for a minute. To proclaim that Jesus is Lord means that someone else is not. To proclaim that Jesus Christ is Lord means that someone else is not. There have been many rulers and governors throughout time who have not liked to hear this, who thought they were the rulers. They controlled things. Oftentimes such rulers have used religion such as Christianity to try to control people and situations. The disciples were to be brought before kings and rulers who would question them about their faith in Jesus. The Jewish synagogues would disown those who betrayed them. betrayal to Jesus, as well as the handing over of Jesus to Pilate. It was against Jewish law to turn over a brother to a foreign power for a judgment. This was an act of betrayal. Israelites accused of capital crimes were to be judged by fellow Israelites. Even Paul alludes in his writings that when he suggests that the church settle its own disputes rather than go to Roman law courts. We are warned, and have been throughout history, that such acts of betrayal can even extend to one's family members, to those that we love the most. Throughout the Torah, it was stated that family members were to be the first to cast stones against the rebellious son. But in such corrupt people, it was often the good who actually suffered. In the Reformation era, families who betrayed those who defected from Roman Catholicism were imprisoned. Some were tortured. Others were executed in very barbaric ways by family members and those that they loved the most. Thanks be to God that we've not been stoned or tortured, and we've not been executed. But how many of us have been betrayed or persecuted in some way by those we love? Our family members, friends, because they don't share our beliefs. They don't understand our faith practices. They can't comprehend our commitment and our passion to ministries that we're involved in. Folks, life as disciples of Christ is not easy and has never been easy. And Jesus never promised that it would be. If you think about it, Jesus' life and ministry and death was anything but easy. In many cases, it was horrific. So how could we expect any better for ourselves? Jesus reminds us often, and especially this morning, that through all this uncertainty and unrest, even through persecution, we must keep our focus, our witness on Jesus. It is no secret that we live in a world with confusion and challenges, with destruction around us that intensifies, with relationships that continue to struggle and be diminished. Persecution runs rampant. But Jesus reminds us today and every day to put our emphasis on what we do know. We have a God who loves us enough to be born in the manger, only to hang on a cross to his death and be raised 3 days later. That in the waters of baptism we are named and claimed God's beloved children, and there's nothing that can ever change that. That we are called and empowered to live in that love, to live out that love with each and every person God puts in our lives. And we are to do so trusting that although we are called to ventures we cannot see the ending, by paths yet untrodden, through perils unknown, God gives us the faith and the power to go with good courage, not always knowing where we go, but trusting and believing that God's hand is leading us and God's love is supporting us. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. Our sermon hymn is number 723.